Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video. Today I'm going to review the Void-Dancer Troupe Kill Team for, well, Kill Team. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of the review, the Kill Team and the video as a whole. What else would you like to see me go over and review? And what do you think of these faction focuses? Now I'm going to do more of them. But yeah, the main thing about this video today, as you know, I've been talking about the Void-Dancer Troupe for a long time. And yeah, I'm going to go through the Kill Team, review it all step by step, like I did with my reviews of the the Corsair Void Scarred and the Legionary Kill Teams. So it's just going to be like that. I'll go through the narrative, the rules, all their tricks and stuff. And yeah, that'll be pretty much it. But this is my first White Dwarf team review, because if you weren't aware, we get bespoke kill teams in like the quarterly boxes, so like Chalnath, Nakmund, and Octarius. But effectively every quarter we get 2 White Dwarf kill teams. So we've had the Hunterclade, the Wormblade, the Warp Coven, and now we've got the Void-Dancer Troupe. So these are just the Harlequins. So without further ado, let's get into the review, and I'll start off with the narrative. So Harlequins are part of the main trifecta of the Eldari race. You have the Craft Worlds, you have the Drukhari, and then you have the Harlequins. These are effectively warrior dancers, so they travel around between Comora, Craft Worlds, and even Maiden Worlds, where the Exodites are. So they go to all aspects of Eldar society, and they basically perform stories, namely of the Eldari past, and namely the fall. And the special thing about these Eldar is that they worship Segarach, who is the Laughing God. So he's one of the few surviving remaining Elder gods, and is of trickery, guile, and mischief. Not really like Tzeentch, though. But effectively, these dancers are equipped with like holographic imaging devices and flip belts that allow them to enhance their already powerful Eldar frame to do amazing acrobatic leaps and move like blurs. They also have masks that are holographic displays that reflect the viewer's most feared image. So it could be of that's why they have all these varied faces, because sometimes they could just be emotionless, cackling laughter, or just like immense sadness, whatever will scare the target that they are about to fight and kill. So they not only are they basically people who reenact the history of the Eldar race, they also fight basically on what the Laughing God tells them to do, which is effectively to themselves. And the Void-Dancer Troupe are a specific branch of Harlequins who are called to perform subtle, fast hit-and-run strike missions. Just like the special forces for other races, these are just the special units for, well, the Harlequins. So with the narrative out of the way, I'll start off this time, compared to what I've done before, with the roster, because that's a big sign about this kill team. So for the roster, for the Void-Dancer Troupe kill team, they have the archetypes Infiltration, Recon, and Seek and Destroy, which is pretty much an amazing combination considering their bodies, which we'll get to. I mean, the only thing they're missing is security, and I'm honestly surprised they just didn't decide to give them security as well, considering all the other free rules they get. But yeah, it's unchanged from the compendium. For their operatives, they have one lead player, who is their leader, who can either be given a fusion pistol or neurodisruptor, and notably, you can only have one of each of those weapons per kill team, or a shuriken pistol. Then it can be either equipped with a blade, caress, embrace, kiss, or power weapon. Personally, I always go with one with the shuriken pistol and power weapon, and then one with a fusion pistol and power weapon, just because it's the only operative in the kill team that can select a power weapon, so you might as well take it. Then you still get 7 more Void-Dancer Troopers. Oddly, the Death Jester and Shadowseer they don't take the place of 2 operatives, they only take the place of 1, so you always take them. And then you have players who can, as I said, one can be equipped with a fusion pistol, one can be equipped with a neurodisruptor. You can equip your Shadowseer with a neurodisruptor, but I wouldn't. And then they all can either blade, caresses, embraces, or kisses. Generally, you're going to have a mixture of blades and kisses, depending on who you're playing against, but we'll get to that. And yeah, other than player operatives, your kill team can only include each operative once. So you're still 8 Harlequins, and you always take the Death Jester and Shadowseer. They're just auto includes. It's weird, it's not like the Wormblade, who have to pay 2 operatives to take their specialists. So, yeah. But they get no other special abilities. There's no, like, kill team trait, which I thought they would get, but we'll cover that in a minute. But yeah, the big change here is now you can't have 3 Neurodisruptors or 3 fusion pistols. You can effectively just have 1 fusion pistol, 1 Neurodisruptor, but the cool thing here with that is you can build this kill team from just 1 troop box and the 2 characters, but because before you effectively had to buy 2 troop boxes to get 6 pistols, but it's easier to buy into, which is nice. So for their faction abilities, this is actually the most important part because they have Saedeths. So Saedeths are quite confusing to read first. So when you select your kill team, select an allegory to be active during that battle, and you reveal to your opponent when you reveal your kill team. So you have to do it the moment you basically go, I'm playing the Void-Dancer Troupes. This is the Saedeth I am going with. Then at the start of your first strategy phase, you select 1 friendly Void-Dancer Troupe operative to have the pivotal role for the battle. While a friendly operative has the pivotal role, it has the accolade ability of that active allegory. In addition to this, you now need to keep a performance tally for your kill team for the battle. You add 1 to the tally as follows. The first time each friendly Void-Dancer Troupe completes the performance of an active allegory during the battle, and the first time a friendly pivotal role operative completes the performance of an active allegory during the battle. This is cumulative with above. Note, this means that for the purposes of your kill team's performance tally during the battle, each friendly operative can only complete 1 performance, and only 1 pivotal role can complete a performance, even if you change the active allegory or pivotal role during the battle, from your lead player. When you add your 4th mark to your performance tally, all friendly operatives have the accolade ability of that active allegory until the end of the battle. Then you also get 1 command point, and then on top of that, you generate an additional command point at the start of each turning point. So for playing the game, you get given 1 command point, and then you get given an extra command point every turn. So thanks to playtesters, I found out why this has happened, but I'll get to that at the end of the review. So going through the allegories, you have 5 types. You have comedy, epic, melodrama, odyssey, and tragedy. So comedy lets you perform a fallback action. So for your tally, you need to perform a fallback action, and your accolade is you can perform the fallback action for 1 less action point to a minimum of 1 AP. Epic is triggered each time an operative incapacitates an enemy operative in combat by inflicting damage with 2 or less attack dice in the resolve successful hit steps. And the accolade version of that is each time you fight in combat, if you didn't retain any critical hits, you can retain a strike or parry with 1 as if it was a crit. So if you roll no crits, you get a crit. Very, very strong. Then you have melodrama, which triggers every time you incapacitate someone with shooting using 2 or more attack dice in the resolve successful hit steps. And the accolade ability of this is each time the operative makes a shooting attack in the roll attack dice step, you can reroll 1 of your attack dice. Then you have Odyssey, which triggers every time you perform a charge action and end the move within red of your opponent's drop zone. And then the accolade version of that is this operative can move up to a distance equal to its movement characteristic plus blue for charge actions instead of white. So you effectively have a 9-inch charge instead of 8 inches. And then you have tragedy. So this operative loses wounds from a shooting attack made by an enemy operative. Oddly, you can score this even when you die. I think it would have been more balanced if it was just if you get wounded and don't die, but whatever. Each time, and then its accolade abilities, each time your shooting attack is made against this operative, before rolling a defense dice, if you're a nut in cover, you can retain 1 successful normal save without rolling it. So you always count as cover for retaining dice, which is very, very fine. So the Saedeths are very thematic. I'll give them that. The only problem is they are a pain to read, and it took me several read-throughs to understand how it works. So originally I thought they were quite balanced because I thought you could only score it once per turning point, and then you could score it again if your key player performed it. So I go like, okay, so you can effectively only get one tally point per turn, but, you know, by turn 3, if you're playing things right, you should have 3. But nope, if you play this really luckily, you can max out your performance turning point 1. Generally, you're maxing out your performance turning point 2. These, like, it's mad. Like, I mean, I'll cover it in the summary, but basically, they don't need the extra command point. It's too easy to max this out. If you're a player, like, if you're against a shooting team, you go tragedy, because if they shoot you, tragedy, you go, okay, cool. You may have shot some of my guys, and then I'll use my leader to switch it to someone else more useful. Or you go like, okay, I'll just move up turning point 1, and then turning point 2, I'm going to trigger Odyssey because I'm just going to start charging you. You get rewarded for playing the game, and not only do you get more special rules, you get effectively another command point and then another command point every turn. So the weakness of the Harlequins before, where they were quite command point intensive, and oddly you would go like, okay, so as a Harlequin player, you have to be really canny with how you use your command points. You need to properly ration things. Nope, now you just get unlimited command points effectively. And playtesters revealed this in Discords that they fed back that they thought originally, apparently they didn't get command points, and they said Harlequins felt like they could do with more command points. So obviously the devs thought that made sense and then implemented that. So it confuses me on multiple levels, but Saedeths are very good. If you're playing Void Dancers, as I said, you get rewarded for playing the game. Generally, you're triggering this mid-turning point too. If you're really lucky, or like your opponent is not playing into you correctly, you can even trigger this turning point 1. And as a outside look, this is broken, but we'll get onto it. So Saedeths are confusing, but you effectively get rewarded for how you play, and you have to plan your Saedeth based on what you're playing against. If you're playing against a shooting team, Tragedy is very useful. It's probably the most useful for farming, but Odyssey is as well. And then once you've got your, you've got your 4 tally points, then you switch to change to something else. So now I'll cover the Tac Ops because I had to cover the abilities first. So let's look at the Tac Ops. For faction Tac Op 1, you have Mythic Play. If your performance tally is 4 or more, you score 1 victory point. If your performance tally is 6 or more, score 1 VP. I think this is the easiest Tac Op in the game now because you get rewarded for playing the game. Like, it's better than security because your opponent can't stop you from scoring your Saedeth points. So you always take faction Tac Op 1 and you're always going to max out. Very balanced. Like literally 5 out of 5. Honestly, if you're a Void Dancer player, you always take this because you should always be maxing it. Then you've got Hero's Path, faction Tac Op 2. You reveal this when a friendly Void Dancer Troupe operative incapacitates an enemy operative at the end of the battle. If that friendly operative has incapacitated more enemy operatives than each other friendly Void Dancer Troupe during the battle, you score 1 VP. If that friendly operative is wholly within your opponent's drop zone, you score an additional VP. This is bad. Oddly, they have a bad Tac Op. But the thing is, it's just, even with 8 wounds and a 4-up invuln, it's not great. I wouldn't take faction Tac Op 2. It also oddly makes you have to kill more and stay alive and also be close to the enemy. It's a really win more kind of Tac Op that doesn't benefit you, and it triggers at the end of the game. So it's not useful. Then you have faction Tac Op 3 Grand Act. You can reveal this in any turning point. When this Tac Op is revealed, you start a Grand Act tally, adding 1 to the tally the first time each different performance is completed by a friendly Void Dancer Troupe operative. No, it doesn't have to be your active Allegory's performance. So you effectively reveal this turning point 1, and if your Grand Act tally is 5, you score 1 VP. If you achieve the first condition before the 4th turning point, you score 1 VP. So the weird thing about this is you are trying to do each Saedeth to no benefit, but effectively, if you do all 5, you get 1 VP. and if you do it before the 4th turning point, you get another VP. The only problem I find with this is you end up doing weird things like charging people, passing, and then aiming to fall back to trigger, to score this. So I wouldn't really, I'd put it in the deck to get rid of like a bad Tac Op, but I wouldn't actually use Tac Op free. So it's okay, but I feel it forces you to do too much. Like, it's very easy to get 1 victory point from it, but getting 2 is probably going to make you play the mission worse. So yeah. So next we have the strategic ploys. So for the strategic ploys, you have between colors. Until the end of the turning point, your friendly operatives can perform shoot actions during normal move actions. Noting any remaining increments of movement can be used after performing the shoot action. You cannot select a Shrieker Cannon for those shooting attacks. So this is actually quite confusing at first, but effectively allows you to move and then mid-move shoot and then finish your move. So let's say for some reason you couldn't dash or something, or you wanted to be somewhere else, you could move like 2 inches, shoot, move and dash away. So it's a very niche Tac Op. I mean, it's a very niche ploy, but actually can be very useful. You just have to know when you're at the point of using it in the battle, when it can benefit you. So it's something you would use if you just needed to tag someone in the open without going, I'm going to move or dash. Well, it's in a situation where you want to shoot at someone, but you can't move, shoot, and then dash back because of where they are, like if they're in the open. So yeah, it's a good, very good Tac Op ploy, but you just have to keep in mind when to use it. Then you have Domino Field, which has returned. So until the end of the turning point, until a friendly operative makes a shooting attack, for the purposes of determining line of sight, when a friendly operative with a Domino Field is within black of a terrain feature and more than red from the active operative, the operative always treats that friendly operative as having a conceal order regardless of any other rules. So notably, the restriction has been laxed. So before you had to be white within to negate it, now it's red. So this is actually a big boon to shooting teams, and it means Harlequins have to play more honest. So this is a slight nerf. It's still incredibly good because you can run around with conceal and then go, yeah, if you come close to me, I can overwatch you and then you can shoot me. But if I'm going last, like, that's a free overwatch that you can't react to, and you just stay on engage. So very good. Then you have Prismatic Blur. So every time a friendly operative performs an action that has it moves, it has a Prismatic Blur until the end of the turning point. Each time it is shot at, in the roll defense dice step, you can reroll one of your defense dice. So very good against shooting teams, especially on a turn you know you're going to get shot at. Probably from turning point 2 onwards, when you know Domino Field is going to lose its effectiveness if your opponent's quite close. Then you have Segarat's Jest. Until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly operative fights in combat, once in the successful resolves hit step of that combat, when your opponent strikes with a hit, notably, because a hit is not specified as a normal or critical hit, it applies to both until they FAQ it. You can roll 1d6. If the result is equal to or less than the weapon skill characteristic of that enemy operative's selected melee weapon, treat that strike as a parry instead, and the brutal effect of that weapon has no effect. So effectively, if someone has a free up characteristic to hit, if you roll a 3 or less, you parry that attack, but you can only do it once on each time they strike. The only problem is, if you're a melee team, like Harlequins have 5 dice, you're generally going to have 4. So it's a 50-50 chance. Obviously, it's better the worse their weapon skill is, but it's like really good, But did this kill team need range negation and melee negation on top of all the other stuff they get? But, you know, it's still very good. Very good selection of strategic ploys. Then you have your tactical ploys. So these are used during the turning point. So you have Murderous Entrance, which is the same. Once you've performed a charge action, if you strike with a critical hit, you can immediately select one of your remaining attack dice and strike with it. So you can do a 1-2 hit. You have the Curtain Falls, where you can perform a fallback action for 1 AP, even if it has performed an action during that activation that prevents it from performing a fallback, e.g. charge. So you can charge, strike, and then for some reason fall back. It's very good. Then you've got Ruthless Derision. Use this after rolling your attack dice for a shooting attack in which it performed a fallback action. You can reroll any and all of your attack dice for that shooting attack. More situational, but having rerolls on everything is great, especially if you're attacking with a Neuro Pistol or a fusion pistol. Then you have Capricious Roll. Use this when a friendly operative is activated. Until the end of its activation, that operative can perform dash and charge actions while within engagement range of enemy operatives. So notably, you can move through people, which hints that fly doesn't let you ignore engagement range. So, because spoilers, they all have fly. But it's still a useful selection of Tac Ops. Obviously, once you trigger your Saedeth and you're getting 2 CP a turn, you're going to be burning through all of these without care because you're living off of so much CP. So, very good for the Void Trooper players. And finally, we have the Psychic Powers, because you do have a Psyker. So each time a friendly Shadow Seer performs the Manifest Psychic Power action, select one power to perform from the list. You can only use each power maximum of once per turning point. Notably, you don't have to roll a d6 on a free up to cast the second power, and then if you fail, you take wounds like the other Psykers they've shown. You just get to cast 2 because you're Harlequins, and you don't care about downsides because you're not allowed to have any. So you have Veil of Tears. So you select one friendly Void Trooper operative visible to your Psyker until the end of the turning point. For the purposes of determining line of sight, while that operative is more than red from the active enemy operative, it is in cover. Enemy operatives cannot end a charge action within engagement range of that operative unless they began that action within red of it. Or they would also end that action within engagement range of another friendly operative from your kill team. So it basically goes, if you shoot at me and I'm too far away, I count as being in cover, and you cannot charge me unless you're close, or you can't multi-charge. So once again, shuts down melee operatives, which is fine. Then you've got Fog of Dreams. Select one ready enemy operative that is visible to this operative, so unlimited range. Roll 1d6. Until the end of the turning point, that enemy operative is treated as having a group activation characteristic of 1 and cannot be activated or perform actions until it is the last enemy operative to be activated, or a number of enemy operatives have been activated equal to the result of the d6, whichever comes first. So you can pick a GA2 guy and knock them down to GA1. And it depends on your d6, but if you know your opponent's going like, oh, I'll give this operative +1 APL, you go Fog of Dreams and kind of mess up their chain. So good disruption. Then you have Mirror Minds, which is just both players roll 66, and then you match your dice with the opponent. So for each dice roll that matches your opponent roll, they take a mortal wound. So let's say you roll 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 6, and then your opponent rolls 1, 2, 3, and then like 4, 4, 4. You've got 3 matches, they take 3 mortal wounds. So you could potentially do 6 mortal wounds or 1, has unlimited range, and it's swingy, it's unpredictable. But it's this weird situation where your opponent is terrified you're going to do 6 mortal wounds, and you're like, am I going to do any mortal wounds? So it's a weird power. I don't really like this. It's a feel bad for both players, but generally the psychic powers are very strong. So now we'll go over the operatives. So starting with the lead player. So this is your leader. It's, as with all Harlequins, it's 3 white for movement. All have 3 APL still. 3 defense, 6 up save, 9 wounds because it's your leader. Everyone else has 8 wounds. It has the fly keyword still. So it's APL 3 with fly. Unfortunately, that did not get changed to APL 2 with 3 dashes, or what I thought they were going to do, which was remove fly and give them climbing ropes, but whatever. It has the hollow suit, so everyone has a 4-up invuln, and it has performance lead. So once per battle in the strategy phase, when it's your turn to use a strategic deploy or pass, you can use this ability instead. You can select a different allegory to be active for your kill team, and you can also select a different operative to be for your pivotal role. Your new pivotal role would there have the accolade of the new active, and effectively you change your Saedeth and you change your key operative. So what you do is, as I said, you usually use your leader to, you use like tragedy to farm your Saedeth points. Once you reach 4 or are close to 4, you switch and then use the one that you're most going to benefit, namely the charging one, which lets you auto roll crits. Very powerful. Just the only downside is if they somehow kill your leader before you switch, you're stuck. So you need to keep your leader safe, which should be easy turning point 1. You know, you can hang your leader back and then commit when you know you're going to change and win. Very good leader. You always take the power weapon. All his attacks hit on 2s. Yeah, I would go power weapon, fusion pistol, or power weapon pistol. The reason I'd go fusion pistol is because a fusion pistol hitting on 2s is terrifying, and, you know, his free APL. So yeah. Then we have the Death Jester, and the way the Death Jester is presented is very balanced. So your Death Jester and Shadow Seer also have 9 wounds. So your Death Jester has a Shrieker Cannon, which is 5 dice, hitting on freeze, 4/5 with Fusillade, Heavy, Humbling Cruelty, and Rending. Notably not unwieldy. So, and then he has a Shrieker Blade, which is 4 dice, hitting on freeze, 3/4 with Reap 2. So he has Humbling Cruelty. So each time he makes a shooting attack with this weapon, if in the result of successful hit steps, if you did any damage to that target, they count as being injured until the end of the turning point, which is actually really useful. So if you don't somehow kill them, they're injured. Then you have Shrieking Harvest, which everyone needs to pay attention to. So for 2 action points, you can perform a free shoot action with this weapon. The Shrieker Cannon has the Torrent White ability instead of the Fusillade special rule for that shooting attack. So effectively, you can shoot as if you're a long-range flamer. So against Harlequins, you always need to bunch. You need to space out more than 2 inches apart. But the moment you see your opponent not, you just shoot them. On paper, as I said, the Death Jester seems very balanced until we get to the equipment. And I'll cover it in the equipment. But if he remained as he is now, pretty good. The only thing I'm annoyed at, he doesn't have Unwieldy, but the Corsair version does. So it's just balance. But then we have your player. So as I said, they can either have one can either have a fusion pistol or neurodisruptor. So, you know, your fusion pistol is a melter pistol with mortal wounds 3 on a crit, AP2 with a free range of blue, whereas your neurodisruptor's range of red, but AP1 with stun, 4/5 damage. Notably, the weapons you will either give it are blades, which are 4/5 with balanced, or generally the kiss, because once your Saedeth kicks in for combat, you're always rolling a crit, so you're always doing 7 damage. So 10, you're basically gonna burst through stuff, and you may take like 2 or 3 operatives on your roster with embraces to give them equipment for lethal 5-up. But, you know, players are pretty much unchanged. Then you have your Shadow Seer, who has 9 wounds, as I said, who has... Generally, you'll go with a Shuriken Pistol and a Mistave, which is 4 dice, hitting on freeze, 4/5 with stun. Then, notably, it's missing the psychic power. I mean, the psychic keyword, Psyker. So it's a Psyker that is unaffected by all anti-psychic abilities, which is great. It manifests psychic powers, so it's 1 action point. It has a once per game hallucinogen grenade. So you select 1 point on the kill zone within red of this operative. Roll 1d6 for each operative within white of that point, subtracting 1 for the result if the operative is not visible to the Shadow Seer. On a 4-up, subtract 1 from their APL. On a 6, in addition, they suffer 1 mortal wound. You can only perform this once per battle and not while within engagement range. So it's effectively -1 APL nuke. So very, very strong. And it's not shooting attack, so you can do this while concealed or not negating domino field. Very, very useful player that you effectively always take. Now we come to the equipment. Yay. So you have Shrieker Toxin round, so it's 3 equipment points of 4. Select 1 Shrieker Pistol or Shrieker Cannon. It gains the Mortal Wound 1 critical hit roll for the battle, so it's 3 equipment points for Shrieker Pistols, 4 for Shrieker Cannons. Then you have your Death Mask, you can only take 1 of. If this operative is incapacitated, at the end of the activation you gain 1 CP, which would be good, but because you get free Saedeth points, because you get free CP for Saedeths, you never take this, because they invalidated the Death Mask with Saedeth points. Then you've got Accelerated Monofilament Wire, which is for your Harlequin Kisses. Embraces, which gives them Reap 1 and Lethal 5-up, and you mainly do it for the Lethal 5-up. Then you've got Super Tensile Monofilament Wire, which gives one of your Harlequin's Kisses damage 4, so it goes to damage 4, still crits for 7. Then you've got Wraithbone Talisman, which once per battle, it lets you do a reroll when you're shooting, like just a command reroll effectively for free. Then you have your Prismatic Grenade, which is 3 equipment points as well. So it's 4 dice, unchanged from the compendium, hits on freeze, 3/4, blast indirect, limited with stun, and the stun is huge. Psycho Crystals, which you don't really take, you can only take 1 of. One of your Neuro Disruptors gains lethal 5-up. And then the most broken equipment point, it's 1 equipment point for the Death Jester. You remove the heavy roll from the Shrieker Cannon, but it cannot move more than 3 white in an activation when it performs a shoot action. Firstly, you might as well have just put this on the. You might as well have just put this in the data slate for the Shrieker Cat, like for the Death Jester. It's entirely pointless at 1 equipment point. I would have rated the development team if they put this at 2, because at 2 equipment points you actually have to make a decision with your equipment. At 1, you always take it because you go 3 prismatic grenades and a support grip, or you go like 3 monofilament wires and a support grip, or 3 talismans and a support grip. It's like, you look at Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines, they have to pay 3 equipment points for this, and people go, oh, you know, obviously during testing they felt bad you always had 1 equipment point spare. And then I go, but balance, like my only problem is it's 1 equipment point. If it was 2 or even 3, I think it would be fine. At 1, they might as well have just made it free. Like, it's very confusing. But overall, like, it's not really much has changed. You just now have something to spend your spare equipment point on. So, yeah, I mean, like, your grenades are really strong, but the support grip is silly. And then, as always, you have your narrative rules. So you've got, like, you know, your battle honors and rare equipment. So you've got all your narrative rules if you want to play this kill team narratively for your Spec Op campaigns. So, kill team overview. Before I get into it, remember, this is I should have put this at the start of the video, but this is the March White Dwarf. This is my subscriber edition. But it's very useful because not only if you buy this do you get the rules for the Void-Dancer Kill Team, but you also get Tac Ops cards for the faction Tac Ops for all currently released box kill teams. So it's got faction Tac Ops cards for Commandos, Vet Guard, Pathfinders, Novitiates, Corsairs, and Legionary. Very good. So I highly recommend picking this up. And if you are watching this later and are worried it's lost, that you can't buy this, I think in 2 months from March, it should be as part of the Warhammer vote on Warhammer Plus. So that's one way to get it. So I have tried. I have tried to be fair. This kill team is ridiculous. Like, so I've played a few games with them. I've seen them being used, and I've seen them in tournaments. They're very worrying. They're definitely S tier because they didn't lose free APL. They didn't lose fly. I would have been okay if them at free APL if they lost fly and got climbing ropes, because they lost fly in 40k because with fly they were just breaking the game. So they gave them their own pseudo fly, which wasn't fly basically. And I thought giving them all climbing ropes would have fixed a lot of issues. But this, I'll do it from the positive side first. If you were playing Harlequins in the compendium, your kill team has gotten slightly worse in your bad matchups, but you only had a very small number of bad matchups, which are Pathfinders, Vet Guard, Commandos, and I guess Corsairs is 50-50, probably Warp Coven because they can just turn off dashes and stuff. You still dominate everything else. Domino Field means you have to play a little bit more cagey, but you know, you've got your parry to shut down melee teams, and you've got your Saedeths points. And your Saedeths points are your bread and butter. You have to understand how they work, and they are very thematic, but once you've reached 4 points, you just literally go, I've got unlimited command points effectively, and I get all these extra special rules. And generally what you do is, like, if you're against a 7 wound kill team, you go all kisses because you farm your Saedeths points, then you switch it to like the combat allegory, so you just charge and roll crits. You go charge crit, charge crit, charge crit, charge the leader, you do crit and a hit with a 1 CP like Murderous Entrance, you're just one-shotting stuff in combat, so you're untouchable. So you have to play smart, and obviously your opponent has to space out, not only if you're taking your stun grenades, but also because of your Death Jester, because your Death Jester provides some really key range firepower, because before everyone will just go on full engage against you. Now they can't, because the Death Jester can go domino field, domino field, domino field, shoot, dash, or like move, shoot, dash. So the Death Jester can be very annoying because it can just go, oh, you went all engaged, kill that operative. Now I'm outside of your ability to shoot me. So you have a lot of flexibility. You're still 8 operatives, but you know you've got really good Tac Ops to select from. Like your faction Tac Op 1, you auto score. Then you can either do recon or infiltration because everyone's free APL and you have fly, so you have no issue scoring any of the Tac Ops. You should be maxing your Tac Ops every game very easily, and then it's just focusing on the primary. So yeah, the main thing is mastering your Saedeths, and then generally from turning point 2, you've maxed out you've gotten 4 Saedeth points and you're just rushing down the opponent and wiping them out. And that's effectively what's happened in tournaments. Now the problem is, balance-wise, it's bizarre, this kill team. Like, yeah, the playtesters have oddly been really open, almost kind of defending the kill team. Because as I said, the only reason I found out about the Saedeths giving command points was because the playtesters fed back. They thought, you know, the one thing that the Harlequins were lacking was that they actually were running out of command points quite early. So they thought, you know, if they had some more command points, that would be great. So that's why they have extra command points. And it's just, I don't mind a kill team having one negation effect, as in like, oh, this kill team is very resistant to all negate shooting, or this kill team is very resistant or negates melee. My main problem is the Harlequins break so many core rules of the game that they're just not fun to play against. Like, unless you are a good warband, unless you're a good kill team going into them, you're probably not going to beat them because they just negate too much of the game. They negate terrain because they all have fly. They negate AP because they all have in-bonds. They negate the 2 APL system for mission actions because they all have free APL. They negate shooting because of domino fields, and because of their parry, they also negate melee. So, because remember, even if they get that first parry off, they have 5 dice, and if you only had 4 and you rolled 3 hits, they could just parry you out. It's bizarre this team kept so much negation, and they got rewarded for playing the game. I can't see playing against them not maxing out their Tac Ops unless you just kill them early. Like, the only way you can stop them from like switching their Saedeths as well, which is bizarre, is if they play badly and they expose their leader turning point 1. Like, the other thing is being able to switch your Saedeth mid-game seems like, I don't know, it's very thematic. Like, this is a very thematic kill team, but it reeks of unbalance. Like, it's just unbalanced. And when I compare it to the Corsair Void Scarred and the Legionary kill team, and even the other White Dwarf kill teams, I have to question what's gone on with the Void-Dancer Troupes. So, like, something's gone wrong here, because looking at the other White Dwarf teams, they were really balanced. Like, Hunter Clades, yeah, they were too balanced, but you had the Warp Coven and the Wormblade, which were strong, yeah, really balanced. They were like solid B-A tier. They had a lot of rules, but they still had weaknesses. But you look at the Harlequins, and they don't really have any weaknesses. The only weaknesses is that they have Operatives. But as I said, they swap in their specialists for free. They don't cost 2 APL. I mean, they don't cost 2 slots like they do with the Wormblade. And like even the Warp Coven, it's very strange. And the disconcerting thing is when you're discussing it with these playtesters in the Discords where they're like just sharing stuff, they don't see it. They're just trying to defend it. And the problem is, I don't think they realize how broken the Void Dancers are, because they just negate so much of the game. Like, even if you look at the tournament results, Harlequins in general just topping or getting to the top cut of events just because they have fly and they have in-bonds and they already have all of these rules. So it was nice their parry got toned down because it used to trigger all the time on a 4-up, and domino fields is fairer to play against. But the problem is the Void Dancers are only weak to shooting teams that massively outnumber them, and they have so much blast, and like it's just too hard to play against them. As I said, I was hoping they would go down to 2 APL with 3 dashes, or they lose fly and gain climbing ropes instead. So it just means they're easier to climb and drop stuff, but they're no longer ignoring terrain. They're still like easily traversing the board, or even having a similar rule to Agile Gladiators from Drukhari. That's what I was expecting. But them just keeping fly and all their negation stuff, it's the problem I have is it's just too obnoxious to play against, especially if you're a more casual player or you're not using an S tier kill team. Like, the only kill teams that counter them are S tier kill teams, effectively. It's so strange. Like, yeah, I could talk forever about their balance, but personally, if you're a Void-Dancer player, you'll love them. Obviously, you'll get upset because your bad matchups have gotten worse, but you only have like 4 or 5 bad matchups out of like 40 kill teams. But generally, you should be stomping everything. Like, you really should. Like, you're going to max out your Tac Ops, and then you just have to play the mission. But, you know, you're never going to run out of command points now. You're going to have the tools to do whatever you want. And it's very affordable to get into this kill team. So if you're looking to play competitively, I'd highly recommend picking up the Void-Dancer Troupes. They're cheap. They have a lot of rules. They're very powerful. You don't even have to buy too much. You only have to buy more if you want to give like everyone with kisses and like have some caresses. Like, I already have a full roster. Like, I have, I think, 12 operatives, but I might buy another box just so I have 6 operatives with kisses, just so if I'm running into like 7 wound operative kill teams. But yeah, I'm very disappointed by this kill team. It's because I was a champion of White Dwarf Kill Teams. I was like, look, they're done sooner compared to the box kill teams. They're really balanced. They're just really fun and thematic. And I was happy and hopeful that the Harlequins were in the White Dwarf Kill Team. Like, I was like, cool, they're going to be super balanced. They're going to be fun to play against. They're not going to feel like they're just breaking all the rules. Nope. And then from the sounds of the playtesters, they didn't see any of that as a problem. So, but from win rates, so I've seen that the Polish tournaments, they haven't done too well. I think they've come like 3rd, haven't won anything. But then Adepticon, they won days 1, 2, 3. It was only one guy, 36 plays each time, undefeated. There was another tournament that I covered in the stats where it was one player who won undefeated. So it's quite worrying that they're either winning events at the moment, just topping, like they're just undefeated, or they're, even when they're not winning, they're still doing really well. But it's still early days, and I could be wrong. It just could be me like doom posting or whatever, just going, it's the end of the world. Even though it doesn't affect me, my problem is when I look at the game as a whole, this kill team is just not balanced. Like, if you weren't playing a best, like, they just auto beat compendium kill teams, no bother. And then I was looking at Hunter Clade. I don't think they could beat Vetgar. I mean, I don't think they could beat the Void-Dancer Troupes. Novitiates might be able to, but I'm like, their weakness is actually melee, and you just literally, you go, oh, I'm on 4 Saedeths points now. I'm going to turn on crits, and I'm just going to charge you with kisses and instantly kill you. Can't stop that. And it's just rough. Like, Legionary can't beat them. Oddly, they did get worse at dealing with elite kill teams, but you're not going to see elite kill teams because they just don't perform. That's why I think Warp Coven do quite well into them, because, you know, you've got the turn off dash and reduce their charge, and then you would obviously go free sorcerers and just full Zangors. Maybe Soul Reaper, but I think you just want the Zangors for the bodies and just charge up. Pathfinders and Vetguard will do really well into them, because Pathfinders and Vetguard will just go, I'm within 6 now, shoot. That's what they have to do. Commando's a bit iffy. But yeah, it's weird. I recommend them because they're very strong, very powerful, very easy to get into. But I also am very sad because they're too good. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'm going to do more on kill teams. I think I'm going to try and do either Tyranids or something. A kill team I've played quite thoroughly. And I'll do more as a guide. I just wanted to get this out of the way so I had somewhere to talk about this kill team. And obviously I wanted to review them. So yeah, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Do you agree with my opinions? Do you disagree? I'd be interested to know, because I know probably a lot of Harlequin players who are going to go, no, John, you're wrong. They're fine. They're thematic and fine. But there are a lot of Harlequin players who agree with me. Yeah, I'm just having fun. Don't worry. But yeah, I hope this made fun. The White Dwarf was really cool. I'm still a fan of White Dwarf format for releases, as well as the cards you get in them. Just disappointed about the balance. Really disappointed. I don't know. I've been constantly thinking about this because it's just like, if you're playing competitively, it kind of locks you into a kill team. Like you go, okay, I kind of have to play the S tier kill teams so I can have a chance against Void Dancers. I don't know. I can literally talk about this balance fiasco for hours, but I still have hope in the data slate. But yeah, let me know what you think. I've rambled long enough. I need to edit this down. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll be back with more content soon. But that's pretty much it. So until next time, when you're using the Void-Dancer Troupe, remember, you'll always have the last laugh, especially when you roll a crit.